you're nervous a little bit?
Not nervous. I'm just like I guess I don't want to fuck it up. I don't want to mess it up. I don't want to make it to where it takes away from the ultimate goal I have in my head. Hopefully I can get it out of my head from the plan that we culminated and make it just go smooth. I hope it's good is what I'm saying.
The fire's in your eye, like you want to do this, like you're so super fucking passionate about it.
Yeah, man, because it helps me, dude. It really does. Because my shortcomings bring depression. They bring fucked up thoughts, you know. And then like, it's not that I'm trying to overachieve and gain that back, but from where I stopped, you ever seen those little graphs where you did good one year and it goes down and up and down and up? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Sometimes I look at my life like that. I really do, and like I'm okay with falling off as long as I try to pick myself up. And sometimes we keep falling off, but you know, I really, from there is what I'm saying, like to do this, I feel really good about it, dude. I fucking want to talk to these dudes. It's not about me one fucking bit, you know?
I just wanted to do just a quick timeline to bring us up to speed. Like this literally started a week ago. From what I saw, you met that kid outside that church and you're like, I gotta show the world this kid. He's doing something fucking special. Mm-hmm. And you caught that on the camera. It was just you out there with just your handheld iPhone camera saying, you know, what were you doing in that church? You were helping your brother with cerebral palsy, and what do you do for you? You know, that was the interesting thing at the end, was when you were like, what do you do? What's your special thing? And then
man,
you put the spotlight on him, and it made me feel good because you made him feel good, man.
Yeah.
Like, and then this whole week you've just been writing, dude. You've been researching, writing, and your Facebook page is 22. You write up a life story for 22 dudes a day. It looks like. Yeah. You've done it all week, and you don't feel like it's work or anything because you want to do this.
Yeah, man.
You're a man possessed, bro. Let's see what happens.
Dude, we got it.
We'll see what happens.
We got it. This is how I feel. I feel like this is our, like, you know how, I guess the nervousness too, bro. Hey, on the real, seriously, it comes from like, this is our jump off right here. This is where we're literally, we built a ship that's gonna hold a massive amount of people and things, right? And we're about to launch it. And it's literally, that's an awesome thing, right? So to build a ship and to launch, they break a bottle of wine on it and everything. They do so much craftsmanship. Well, we didn't do that. We literally built this thing out of fucking sticks and tied it together with ropes on a raft. And we're like floating down the river right now. That's where the nervousness comes from, bro.
I think that's how great things get done, dude.
Yeah, dude.
You jump and then you figure out how to pull the parachute.
Dude, this dude's excited. You know what actually we need to do is pause for 1 second. Give him 1 minute actually, because he said he was getting ready, I think. All right, we're here in Villa Rica, Georgia. If you don't mind, tell us a little bit about what you got going on, how you got this house. And
Joseph Daniel Worley. I was a Navy corpsman with 2-1 Marines out of Camp Pendleton. In the Navy, but I never even saw a boat. Ended up stomping sand with a bunch of nasty old Marines who don't even know how to cut their fingernails. I had to shave them and stuff too. So, no, I love my Marines and they took good care of me. But I went over with 2-1 Marines to Fallujah, Iraq, in 2004, and ended up getting my leg knocked off.
Yeah, dude, and I gotta ask you about what it's made out of. You gotta tell me that again.
Yeah, well, this is it's like carbon fiber composite. Oh, what is Arnold's like? Whatever it is.
Cyber organism.
It's a Champions League.
It's a Champions
League.
League.
Made of potassium and love. So it's carbon fiber and titanium. And this whole thing, it's got like a computer chip and everything. It calculates my weight distribution. It knows what I'm doing. It helped me walk down hills and stuff like that. It'll actually, you just relax the weight on it. It knows the difference between me doing something like that. But if you'll notice, when I take a step, I meet what's called toe load, where enough of my weight is on the front step that it'll just bounce it out. I think the problem that people have is they forget that things aren't perfect in America. That, you know, they're not perfect anywhere. This isn't heaven. But this represents overcoming all that stuff. You know, you've got blood and purity side by side. You know, that innocence. And the way I sit with my back looking out, or where I can look out the back window. And the way the sun is most of the time, like during the spring and summer, it actually brings the flag straight under reflect of the back glass back there. And it's so dumb, man, but I freaking love the flag. I love
Dude,
it.
I
And
do
so I'll
too,
be
buddy.
sitting there eating. I'll catch a flash of color. I'm like, what was that? Oh, that's my girl. That's my Lady Liberty right there. So this is Miss Izzy. Her toes pop sometimes. Nope, not right now.
Don't you do it.
This is Abby. This is she was 3 months old when I got hurt. So for a while there, she had a 2-legged daddy. Doesn't even know it. And this is Luther, sir, muzzle awareness. And he's 3. She's 8 and she's 11.
Awesome. And you say you sing? You got a song ready for us? It doesn't have to be long.
You can
What's
do
what
what love
verse?
really means.
I don't remember all that.
It's okay.
You got an iPad.
Yeah, it's okay. What is the song?
It's a song by J.J. Heller called
Yeah.
"What Love Really Means," and it's about like not judging people based off of, or in giving them the chance for forgiveness and stuff. It's a pretty good song.
Good. I like
Go.
the motivation.
Pull! Don't give up. Whoa! Yeah, he did a lot of that by himself actually. Go, pull.
Think of the Macho
Good
Man.
job. All right, up down.
There it
One more
is.
time for it, please.
Come on,
I
Izzy.
really appreciate it.
Here, I'll hold it still so you can climb up. Here, I'll just pick you up.
So obviously Joe Dan works out. I just wear tight shirts to make it look like it, right? And
One.
stand at awkward angles.
2, 3. You want to get full extension?
She
Start out
officially
now.
did more pull-ups than I can ever do. Yeah, she officially did more than I could ever do.
job.
Obviously, you're doing extremely well
Yeah.
on the outside, right?
Yeah.
What about the inside? How's it going, man? How's it been in a nutshell? And that's a nutshell. Leave it cracked so I can get in there a little bit further. But I guess I want to see, how you're dealing with it. Obviously, what happened? Tell me the story of how you obviously lost your leg.
So, my first deployment ever, I went with 2-1 Marines over to Fallujah, and this was, we got over there beginning of March 2004. Mm-hmm. You remember just recently, people were talking about on Facebook, the Blackwater guys that got strung up on the bridge, and their bodies were mutilated and stuff like that, and it was all over the news and all over the papers. Well, we started that initial assault on Fallujah as a direct response to that.
Yeah.
And that's what initiated that first serious campaign in Fallujah, and that was my first trial by fire. March 26th was my first actual combat, and I remember I was talking to our gunny, and we were at the Cloverleaf. The Cloverleaf. And there were just
some guys that know that place, man.
Yeah.
I never made it down there, but I actually got some guys that know that
it's
place. all too
beautiful.
well.
You should go.
Hey, load up the truck.
Yeah, take the land bridge.
Yeah, no doubt.
So we were out there, and there's just bullets everywhere. And having never been actively shot at, I asked the question. I was like, how do you know the difference between just all the bullets that are everywhere and them actually shooting at you? And Gunny laughed at me and he said, "You'll know, Doc." And it was like 10 minutes later, it was like, "Sew, sew, ding, sew." I was like, that's it. I said very calmly, of course. I was like, oh, gee, I'm being shot at. Me specifically being shot at. So that's the difference. The difference is I probably had about 423 PSI of clinch going. That was another subtle difference between being shot at and just hearing gunfire. So that was my first initial. We spent the whole day walking through the outskirts. Fox Company 3rd Platoon specifically, going through the outskirts of Fallujah at that point. And then later on that evening, as we were getting ready to escort out of the city, we got caught in an ambush, and it was very well set up. If that'd been Army or Marines, there would have been nobody left. But luckily, these guys were not as well trained as we are, and we reacted very quickly. And then also, one thing that saved our lives was PFC Sandoval on the machine gun. I mean, we didn't even know what was happening.
What was his name?
Sandoval.
PFC Sandoval?
Yeah.
Awesome, man.
And he jumped up on that machine gun, and he was firing before we had a clue what was going on. And he ended up getting killed. And gave us that 3 to 5 seconds that we needed to get behind cover. We were just standing there. I mean, there's absolutely no reason why we shouldn't have had 5 or 6 of us mowed down other than Sandoval. It's the only thing that I can say. And I will say bad things about dead people. I'm not churching this up because he's,
of course.
The kid had a pair of brass balls on him, and he
obviously, man.
life.
You said he grabbed the machine gun.
Yeah,
right away. That's pretty amazing, dude. That's what everybody. I was an infantryman, right?
Yeah.
101st Airborne, 2nd and 502nd Infantry.
Nice.
The first OIF, it was not anywhere as bad as people think it was because it was the initial invasion. It was for some people.
They weren't ready, man.
They weren't ready.
They were not ready.
The second time, the one I didn't go on, and a lot of my other friends went on. They, the stories that I've even got to share with these guys, and knowing that I went on the first deployment with them, every infantryman would automatically want to be like your friend that you're talking about, jump up on that machine gun, start rocking. That's what a lot of these stolen valor guys are. It's just like a mental sickness that they're doing. They're trying to get that feeling.
Yeah.
That nobody ever has those brass balls but those guys that do it, man. And obviously, there are people that are alive that got those balls. Boy, they do. You, buddy, you have got some cojones. The size, I don't even know how you're sitting down.
I measure them to see if they change size. Okay.
How often?
About once every 2 months.
Awesome. And what do you use to measure those?
Usually 3 yardsticks and a garden hose.
That's what I thought, dude. That's what I thought, man, because they're gigantic. I saw you hobbling on the way out. I knew it was because your nuts were so huge.
That's actually this.
Oh! That's great, man, dude. That is a party trick right there, dude. How many times have you done it at a party?
I don't party. I am the party.
He's like, I just work out all the time, obviously. So, look, man, Back to it. That guy. Tell me a little bit more about his story. I hate to jump into some comedy there. It's my bad.
No, I mean the thing is even when all that stuff is happening, you're still laughing about it. Even when bad stuff happens, you go crazy if you don't, man. This stuff it's all high emotion, and laughter is up there with everything. So that was my first combat casualty. And I say casualty. It wasn't just a casualty. It was my first KIA. That was the first time I'd ever had to deal with anything like that. And then also in that same situation, I ended up helping another guy out of a bad spot. He got shot in the butt, and like Forrest Gump. But this was my first legit.
That took me a second.
Combat.
You said shot in the butt like Forrest Gump. That's great.
And this is like my first real combat outside of just the little plings that happened earlier in the day, and we'd had shots go over as little plink shots, stuff like that. But this was like the first time that I probably should have died, I think. And as a corpsman, my job starts when somebody gets hurt, and so for me that was as soon as Sandoval got hit and on the machine gun, that was when my job started. And so we got out of that situation, and I ended up carrying the Marine that got shot in the butt, Macaulay, on my shoulders when we ran. I honestly probably did a better mile with him on my shoulders than I've ever done.
You literally ran a mile with him on your shoulders?
It was not even an issue. Like, I could have went another mile. As soon as I sat him down, I was done. But mentally, all that's, maybe I'm remembering it and I was slower, but I was definitely not back in the pack.
I wouldn't say this is a bass fishing story. This is pretty good. You'll never forget these times, man. No. You know what, man? So you ran a mile with him on your back.
Yeah, it was a mile or close to it where we were escrowing out of the city, and we were able to get into a Humvee at that point and get him taken care of, and so that was my trial by fire. That was my baptism, March 26, 2004.
I got you, man. So what? You told me a little bit of a story before about your guys that got killed. Obviously, This is the incident you're talking about, right?
Yeah, we had a rough time over there. I mean, I say that like that covers it, but it really doesn't. We were just tired, and everyone's always like, don't get complacent. For us, I mean, that was never something that crossed my mind. Complacency was never. I was never comfortable over there enough to sleep more than. I mean, for instance,
I feel you, man. I really do. I understand completely.
When I got hurt, it was a relief. Not because I was like, I'll do anything to get out of Iraq. It wasn't because of anything like that. It was just, it's out of my hands. I have no responsibility anymore. I'm about to die, whatever. And so on Labor Day, September 6, 2004, we were going out to relieve one of the other platoons. And the first vehicle, the first 7-ton, which generally I would have been in because my lieutenant Wade Zirkle was in that lead vehicle, and I usually rode with him. We were friends, or as friends as you can be with your lieutenant. And we're actually great friends now, but you know,
of course, man. When you get out.
he what, dude? This guy was no joke, and I mean, like he would have died for any one of us. It was never, you know, you always hear jokes about your lieutenant, but this guy was like a cab guy, or you know, he was with a track, and they sat in a circle and got shot at all night. I mean, this guy had been to war before, and so when he showed up, he was a war fighter, and he didn't ask for respect. He just got it because he, you know. He's just one of those guys that you could tell that he would do anything for you as long as you'll do anything that he tells you to do, you know. And he, I got a lot of respect for Wade Zirkle, and he's a great friend of mine now. So,
how often do you see him?
I was in his wedding actually.
That's awesome, man. So that's
what was that, 2 years ago?
My daughter was 18 months old and he started.
Yeah. So yeah, it was 2.5 years ago.
I love that network, man. You know what I mean? You end up being the best man at somebody's wedding. I actually crapped on my best friend Drew Anderson at the time. Yeah, totally. I tried to go, you know, be
like you pooed upon him.
Well, I didn't actually like crap on him. He actually asked me to be in his wedding. I told him I'd be there.
Yeah.
And I was ETSing.
Yeah.
And I didn't, but he's still my friend to this day. Thank God, dude. He actually drew the tattoo I'm wearing. He was he's a really good guy.
I got a friend of mine, not military, but he gave us directions to his wedding, and we forced it. Like, we were moving. We did not have time to do this. And he gave me the wrong directions. We drove around for like 4 hours.
Oh, man, you missed it, obviously.
We missed the wedding.
Oh,
at that point, it was just so, like, our day was so ruined that it was kind of funny. But it was like, it was not good.
Well, back to the lieutenant there. You know, obviously, that's a very special thing for you. The story specifically about...
Yeah, he was in that first 7-ton. Generally, I ride with him, but they posted up out of order. Mm-hmm. So I jump in the front, the lead 7-ton, and it turned out to be the third 7-ton. The other two actually went around. So I ended up in the third 7-ton, and the first one is the one that got hit. Mm-hmm. Is a vehicle-borne IED. From what I understand... from what I was told, 500-pound anti-aircraft and 2155 shells. God. It decimated the 7-ton, obviously, you know. And I mean, even with the up armor and all that stuff on. In fact, the up armor was almost a detriment because it wasn't secured to the frame of the vehicle, and so anytime something like that happens, it just blows the armor straight off. That's more for like small arms fire, and you know, nothing really can protect from a really well built. Improvised explosive device.
Yeah, they've gotten crafty over the years, man. I remember when I first was there, it was literally just hide them under a bag and be a 155 round. And now they're getting crafty.
They were like shoving C4.
Exactly.
And they didn't even know how to like activate the C4. It was just things would blow up and then they'd find a pile of C4 there. Like they didn't know what they were doing, but they figured it out.
Yeah.
And so first vehicle got hit and I jump out and we run up there, and that was my day. That was September 6th. That was 11 days before I got hurt.
This is right after, obviously, all this other stuff happened.
There was loads of stuff. We had guys getting hit and hurt, and I was there for just about everything except for I wasn't there for when Bovera got hit.
What was the time span in between the first guy that jumped on the machine gun?
March 26th versus September 6th. So this was when we'd lived in the city for you know, those 5-6 weeks, you know, or 2 months. I don't even know. It seemed like it was 3 months. In that first assault in Fallujah, we backed out of that and started doing road patrols again, trying to keep IEDs off the road.
That was a lot of people had to do, man. That was a big deal. That's still a big deal.
You had to do it.
That's their only way of getting you. That's how you know you're, you know, badass mofos, dude. Because they gotta do stuff like that. They don't want to fight you from the front. They really don't. I mean, there are people that will.
But it's effective, and we had that, and it was just it was not a good plan on there, and it was just. Of course. I mean, you know, the thing is you're not going to catch Marines. And I didn't really do much with the Army, but you're not going to catch Marines. Even with their pants down, they will fight.
Oh, take nothing away from those guys, man. They are freaking... Anyone that I've ever met, like I actually got a tattoo of a guy named Aaron Bass on my arm. He came from... he died as a staff sergeant, Aaron Bass, right? His story goes... it's pretty incredible. I won't bother getting into it because this is definitely about you right now, but he's a former Marine, though. He's a former Marine. And dude was incredible. Dude, literally, you could set him aside. One of my drill sergeants in boot camp or basic training was a former Marine. You could set these guys aside from other guys and not even talk to them and just watch their actions, and you can almost tell that they were Marines, right? So I 100% feel that those guys are definitely some war fighters.
I think the reason, the things that you can tell between Marine and Army is that in the Marines, it's celebrated to take it seriously.
Yeah.
And in the Army, it's almost like, look at this tryhard over here, you know, and they kind of rag each other, but their heart's there, but, you know, it's like they don't show it as much because, I don't know, maybe it's not as...
Yeah, I won't take that as an insult at all.
Yeah. I mean...
I'm just playing. No, that's great. I'm just playing.
No, dude, thank you. From my perspective, thank you for that.
Right? That was awesome.
I always try to understand the discrepancy in the different... what units and what parts you're in the military. Like Air Force has a thing, Navy has a thing, Army has a thing, Marines have a thing.
Yeah.
And then there's the SEALs, and it's like...
Which one's higher? Which one's lower, right?
Always seems to be competing with each other, and that's how you get better, really.
But that's on the inside. Yeah. On the outside, I mean, you know what I'm saying? A squad of Army guys would die to protect some SEALs, you know, and Marines would die to protect the Seabees that are setting up their stuff. I mean, we joke around inside, especially Army Navy. Like that's a rivalry. Really, it just stems from football, you know, even.
Marine infantry, Army infantry, boy.
Yeah,
boy.
You know, and to be honest with you, you know, they compare, but they really do have different jobs.
Yep.
Like Marines do not have the ability to sit still long enough to hold a position. And so we just break stuff, take stuff, and walk away from it. Like that's what they do, you know? And there's a lot of Army units that do that too, but we just don't have I don't know, maybe it's an infrastructure thing.
They're smaller units, so obviously everybody there is going to be geared towards something incredible. I always get these ADD rants where I fly off the handle. We get away from the actual topics.
Yeah.
We were just you were saying that you were at, it was 11 days, you were in March?
Yeah, well, I asked him the time span. I asked you the time span, ultimately, because I know that not too long before you actually lost your leg, something bad happened to you.
Yeah, that was that day. I lost my entire second squad.
Exactly, and that was what you were telling us. And that right there is enough to beat a man down.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Even with survivor's remorse, that stuff's real. That's the
only time I cried the whole time I was over there. Because, you know, especially as like the corpsman, you know, your job is to take care of people. And so you go into robot mode, you know. And I don't even think none of my guys ever saw me cry. It was just that one time. Like, what happened was we cleaned up the bodies. We took care of everybody. It was an absolute mess. It was just blood and stuff everywhere. Mm-hmm. And when we got back, we laid out all their gear because you have to have gear accountability. You can't leave PEC 2s or freaking night vision laying out in the middle of the desert somewhere. So we laid out all their gear, man. And it looked like an entire squad's like serial gear inspection. It looked like it was laid out. There was just so much stuff. And that's what did it, man. That's when I was like, I got everything set up. I had my war face on. I was mean mugging.
Yeah.
You know, I still had just covered in blood. And I walked around the back of the building and I cried like a baby for like 30 seconds. You know, I think if I had not done that, I honestly would have went crazy. Because, you know, once I stepped her out behind that building, my eyes were red, but my mind was right, you know, and I was able to step back into it. But, you know, that robot mode is a dangerous thing because you just keep pushing stuff off. And so I think taking that moment to say it's okay to deal with this because this is going to be one of the most raw things that ever happens to me in my life. And you don't push stuff like that away. You can build off of it. You embrace it. And it doesn't mean celebrate it, but this is a party whether you like it or not. And if you run from it, you're just going to be mentally exhausted. And that's a part of me, man. You know, that's something that... You know, people always are worried that talking about it is going to stress me out. But, man, that's how I deal with it is, you know, when I got hurt, the only thing I could think of is how do I start visiting these other guys that get hurt? How do I start interacting with these people and trying to cheer people up and build morale up for these guys? Because that's my therapy, man. I need to do things for other people for me to feel like...
Me too, bro. That's what brought us here today, man. Same thing for Adam. Yeah. He wasn't in the military. He's actually roommates with somebody that was in the Army.
Yeah.
And my whole father's side of the family
exactly
was in the military too.
I
always used to tell myself, like, I got a scholarship to play football in college, and I used to tell myself in my dorm, if something were to happen, I would just join the military because that's just how I was raised.
Yeah.
And I got into drugs and alcohol, and my therapy.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah, it was great. Matter of fact, it was too great.
Yeah.
But so the therapy, the aspects for therapeutic getting over anything really is what you just said. It doesn't matter if it's video games, if it's food, if it's anorexia. You got to find a community of people that want to help you just as much as you want to help yourself.
Yeah.
And it's the psychology involved with getting introspective and getting vulnerable and exploring your thoughts. It relieves you of them, and in the process of doing that, it allows someone to feel like they're not alone, and then they get the courage to share. It's symbiotic in nature. It's all of this stuff is lumped under one category. It's just mental health.
Yeah, you know, it's funny that you bring that up because and I think I mentioned this last night. You know, and maybe it's a little crude, but hey, we're military. We can be crude, but
you can be crude as you want to around us, brother.
Motivation is like an erection. You know, it happens, and then it goes away. And it's one of those things that you can't really utilize anytime you want. I can't just sit here and snap and have an erection or something like that. And motivation is not something that you can really have a lot of control over. So the thing that I learned in the military, and for some guys it comes natural. I know guys that are just naturally disciplined, but for me, it's a skill that I learned that I have to make it a point to employ. And so the difference between me being able to actually do something is trying not to use motivation, but to use discipline. And those are two separate things. And it took me a long time to figure out the difference between those two things. But one of them is it's like when you first meet that girl and you're like, oh my God, this girl's got me going crazy. And that first, week or two of that's like motivation. Like you barely have any control over yourself. You want this so bad. But discipline is that thing of that dedication, that long-term commitment where you're like, I'm going to take care of this girl for the rest of my life. Like, what am I going to have to do this? And it's not even an option to fail. Like, you can't let yourself let that go. And I have to do that a lot with a lot of stuff in my life. Luckily for me, I've never been a drinker. I've never been into like any sort of drugs or anything like that. So I really didn't have a choice but to kind of hit my stuff head on. With the exception of video games. I disappeared into video games. Like, it was Guild Wars 1 had first come out and all that. I was on a computer when I first got hurt for 11 hours a day.
Yeah, a lot of my friends actually do that. When my friends that actually got hurt, they do that.
Yeah.
They play video games. Makes sense though. It's not absurd to me.
But guys and girls, we process things differently, and guys really can process stuff by distracting themselves and doing something productive. Mm-hmm. But that's not the only way. You still have to hit it head on. But it's almost like you and I can get into an argument and be best friends, and then you can go to a batting cage and feel better about it. And I think a lot of people can't do that. A lot of people can't deal with stuff like, by doing something else. But sometimes it's just extra energy we got to get out, But for me, all that stuff that I dealt with on Labor Day was maybe compounded by the fact that as soon as all those guys got hurt on September 6th, they dissolved 3rd Platoon down. And that was... It felt like... it didn't feel like giving up. I just hated knowing that it was necessary to tap out at that point. And so we, as 3rd Platoon, we were no longer combat effective, and they merged us into 1st and 2nd Platoon to finish up the last 2 odd weeks of deployment. And everyone's like, "Oh my God, you got hurt 2 weeks before you got out."
I was just about to say that you literally got hurt 2 weeks before you got out, man.
But as a corpsman, as the medic, that's best case scenario for me, man. Could you imagine how I would have felt if I wasn't there and somebody got killed? I would have been in my head. I would have been like, I could have saved him.
Yeah.
I would have, the arrogance or whatever you want to call it. I was good at my job, and I would have felt like if somebody got hurt, I was the last person in Fox Company to get hurt, and I liked it that way. Because I was the last guy. I went down doing my job, trying to get to the vehicle, and I'll explain that in a second. But so all that stuff for me, 11 days afterwards, they merged us in. Had a guy get the back of his calf cut open when they were setting up one of our forward posts, and it was bad enough that we were gonna have to sew it up. So we jump in 3 Humvees and we're getting ready to head back. We were on the very outside edge of our AO, our area of operation for you non-military scrubs. I mean, people. And so, it was like a 40-minute ride back, and so we went to turn around, and it was I mean, it was textbook. You don't have to like it, but you got to respect it. It was right on the edge of our unit and the Army unit that was watching the road on the other side. So it was the perfect overlap for somebody to get it. Somehow somebody sat an IED down and covered it up because we didn't see it. And I didn't see the one that after the first vehicle got hit, I jump out and go to run up. And we'd had a vehicle behind us that wouldn't stay off of us, and we were trying to back them off of us. And I think they might have been spotting for it. And we were trying so hard to get them to back off of us because after the IED, we didn't allow vehicles in our convoys anymore after Labor Day because, the VBED there, the vehicle-borne IED. So we had spray paint on the back, and this car just comes flying up behind us, and we're like, back up, trying to use universal sign language, just having a gun pointed at you, and they just would not back off of us. And so we went through all, and it was before they even had that process that you have to go through where you have to do the hand motion, aim your weapon, fire a flare, and then engage the vehicle. And when it's funny because it's just a natural thought process that we did was that we ended up engaging the vehicle right as the first vehicle got hit with an IED. Mm-hmm. So once that vehicle had been properly engaged and that engagement was over, I jump out and go running up to the first vehicle to try to help the Marines that had been in that first Humvee. And then between the second Humvee and the first Humvee, I got hit on foot while running with an IED, and it immediately, basically all but tore my left leg off, and I was just shredded from the waist down. Had a little cut, like right here on my chest, little cut on my stomach. But when I first got hit, I remember running. I went up in the air, and I remember kind of coming down like that, face first, and I thought I was dead. And it had nothing to do with me being pessimistic, because anybody who knows me knows that I'm optimistic to the point where people think I have a learning disability. Like what is wrong with you? Why are you still thinking that this is going to work out?
It's going to be okay. Why it's not going to be?
Why do you still have faith in this person? Like what is wrong with you?
That's awesome, man.
But I don't like giving up on anything. But logic told me that I had just been hit on foot with an IED that had just disabled and destroyed, the first Humvee. I was pretty sure I was running into a Humvee full of dead guys. And so I was running up there. I didn't hear any noise out of the first Humvee when I got hit on foot. And when I hit the ground, I thought I was dead. Logic told me that I was dead. And so I laid there for a minute. And for me, it was a spiritual experience. And,
that's
people want to talk about, shock and all that stuff. But it was kind of funny because I kind of felt that I was on a transitionary period in my life before it happened. Like as soon as I started running, I didn't think I was running to my death, but I knew that I was running on a bridge. So they were at the front of the bridge, we were at the back of the bridge, and there was no way for us to reach that vehicle other than on that bridge. We could not have backed away. It would have been 3 minutes before we got to the vehicle. You cannot leave a disabled vehicle with wounded Marines in it for that long. You just can't. You don't do that.
Yeah.
You don't do that. You don't know. Those guys get drug off. Who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah.
You just don't do that. So we posted up and we did what Marines do, and we owned the area. And I wouldn't let anybody run with me because if I'd known that I was running up there to get blown up, I don't know. I probably would have tried to figure something out, but it was too perfect. I mean, they set it up. First vehicle disabled at the front of the bridge, and we're all lined up on the bridge. I mean, I knew something was going to happen. I didn't know what it was. So I was running up there. I had Marines behind me, but they weren't right there on me. And if they had been, I'd probably ended up getting killed. But I got blown up. My 9mm that was on my hip was busted into 8 pieces. And that's a whole nother story. I never carry it on my hip. I did that morning because I chose food over getting my gear perfect. I like to eat. It saved my life. I mean, whatever busted that 9mm on my hip would have went through me like butter. I always carried it right there because I can reach it laying down without having to roll
caught
up.
The piece that would have possibly done it.
Oh, 100%. Because you got to think it's on my hip.
Yeah.
And it busted a Beretta. And those things are made out of die-cast.
Yeah. I carried one the whole time, man.
Yeah, I mean, they work as boomerangs if you've got nothing else.
Definitely beat somebody down with one.
I mean, those things weighed like 4 pounds. So, yeah, whatever busted that thing into pieces would have went through me like butter. It definitely would have killed me because they ended up replacing like the full volume of my blood over 72 hours after I got hurt. So I hit the ground. You know, my junk's everywhere, my gear, my med bag and everything. And I think that I'm dead. But then I get this feeling like, I was like imagining myself laying there and dying and then being in line with St. Peter and they go, you know, what happened to you? And I say, well, I got blown up. And they're like, is that what killed you? And I'm like, no, I laid there like a sissy for an hour until I bled to death. And I'm like, okay, so that's not going to work. So in my head, I'm going to roll over and see how bad it is. And so when I rolled over, and let me just go ahead and say initially, whether I was dead or not, there was so much peace in having been blown up. Because all this stress, I didn't realize how tired I was, man. I didn't realize how tired I was. I was so exhausted mentally from just, even when you're sleeping one eye open. And you know, you always hear that term, but it's literally somebody walks by and you're wide awake for 2 or 3 seconds. You go back to sleep. You know, somebody turns around fast. You wake up. You're wide awake for 2 or 3 seconds. You go back to sleep. It's like you never really hit full REM cycle even when you're sleeping like that. And, 6 months of that, man, you're just tired. So getting blown up was a relief in some ways. So when I rolled over and decided I was going to see how bad it was, I realized my left leg's missing. And
God, that feeling, right? That feeling you get right when you...
Yeah.
What'd you see?
Yeah, what was it?
Well, when I rolled over, my leg didn't roll over. And so I knew that it was, like... I knew that it was done. It was still kind of in the pants, And but it turns out it was like a tendon that was holding it on still, It was like... It was not right. I rolled over like, that's not right.
Was there a lot of blood?
Yeah, there was a lot of blood. It was, it's funny though, you could take a glass of water and pour it out and it's going to spread out that wide. So it's, there's always a lot of blood anytime anybody gets hurt, but it's really hard to tell, I couldn't tell you if it was like a unit or 5 units, of blood.
But like, I see the movies and I've seen films.
That's exactly how it is in the movies.
I feel like it's like
I'm just joking.
I feel like it would be like when your flesh is missing, like when there's, it would just, to me, coagulation mixed with a little bit of blood flow. There's no real to tell it's like splurting, but
yeah. Well, there was no, I didn't have an arterial bleed, so which is what saved my life. If I'd been shooting blood out of my femoral artery, then I would have. 40 seconds and you're dead with that. Mm-hmm. So that's actual time. You can bleed out in 40 seconds with a femoral bleed.
You would know.
And I do it to people all the time. So it's people.
Yeah.
So, to be honest with you, though, like, when I rolled over and I realized I was kind of excited. I was like, this is nothing, Because for me, the way I explain it to people is that imagine somebody called you, and of course, God forbid, and told you your whole family's dead, your house burned down, everybody was inside, we're so sorry, your vehicle caught on fire, and it rolled down the hill, and it's destroyed too. And you were like, you've just lost everything, your whole life is over. And then you pull up into your driveway and your family's staring outside at your burned down car and the house is fine and the kids are all fine. Would you be emotionally distraught over the loss of your vehicle at all? No, not at all. So when I thought I was dead and I rolled over and my leg was missing, I was like, yeah.
Fucking hey, dude.
And that's what it was, man. I thought I was dead. So when I wasn't, I was happy with it, man. I mean,
you didn't start to think. Because you're a medic, right? You didn't start to think about like how much time you had, what needed to get done.
This whole process was from the time that I've started talking about what happened as soon as I got blown up, and now it's less than 10 seconds. I'm laying face down, or at least in my head.
That's just a measurement of time, though. That 10 seconds, because everything slows down, man.
In my head, it was 3 to 5 minutes. I mean, I had plenty. Seconds. Yeah, I was thinking through the whole thing.
Your brain processes everything so quickly.
Yeah. And thank you, I am smart. And so, but to be honest with you, you have all that adrenaline, man, and it's just blowing through you. I mean, you could almost dodge bullets at that point. You've got so much adrenaline running through you. So,
so you didn't experience much fear then after it was done?
Oh no, there was no fear. Realistically, what happened was there was a point there where I realized I should be afraid, and that's when I looked for my weapon. But that was second. The first thing that I did was I roll over and I go, "Am I dead or dying?" You know, legs gone, neck's fine. I didn't feel like anything was wrong in my chest and stomach. I wasn't eviscerated. I wasn't losing femoral blood. So I was like, I'm going to pop a tourniquet on this bad boy and I'm going to be good to go. And I wanted to still see if I could do something about that first vehicle. So I rolled over and I've had this stupid tourniquet in my pocket for like 2 years that I'd done in Corps school and Field Medical Service School over in Camp Pendleton. That was a stick, a cravat, or like a handkerchief, and a grenade pin. And it's funny because we have all these like really expensive, like $100 Israeli one-arm tourniquets and stuff. But the only thing in my head is I wanted that stick, that cravat, and that grenade pin. And so what you do is you have the stick, and the handkerchief is tied on one end of it. You put it around the limb, you tie it, and you just spin it. And the grenade pin's threaded on it. So as soon as you're done spinning to tighten, you just slide the pin over the end of the stick, and it won't undo, and you have a great tourniquet.
Where did you learn that? Did you make that up?
Yeah, I actually came up with the concept of a tourniquet. No. That right there. No, that's old school. They've been doing stuff like that. I mean, that's old school. That's stuff they've been using for a long time. I'm not that smart.
Hey, you're smart enough to put it in action. I would have freaking just been like,
that's just a thick skull.
You know what I mean? That's pretty good.
But they teach you all that stuff in Corps school and Field Medical Service School, especially because in a hospital environment is the stuff you generally learn in Corps school, and they have a whole different like ball game for that. They have all these really like everything and you could imagine, because you're working like in an OR environment or like an emergency room environment, worst case scenario. But when you go to Field Medical Service School, you learn how to do it nasty. You learn how to do it in the dirt with somebody slapping you in the side of the face over. You learn how to do that kind of stuff under pressure and under duress. And so for me, self-preservation, and it was an easy decision for me to roll over and do that. Put the tourniquet on, which was actually the most painful thing. My thighs were like that. I mean, I had huge legs. And so for me, getting blown up felt like getting hit by a mattress from the Incredible Hulk. It was like a huge puff of wind. And then my body felt like it was waking up from being asleep. When your leg's asleep and you go to walk on it, you're like, oh, son of a,
Yeah.
When it starts waking up and it's pins and needles. My whole body kind of felt like that. But it was so bad that your mind kind of shuts it off. That's, the endorphins kick in. And so the point of pain is to let you know something's wrong. Well, it was fairly obvious something was wrong. So I was able to function through all that.
Daddy,
Yes, sir?
what are you doing?
Daddy's having a serious conversation. Can you give us just a few more minutes?
Go.
All right, go back in there. I love you.
Where are you, Daddy?
Son, go. Go in there. Abby, save me.
It's good to have those older kids.
Yeah, seriously.
I depend on my wife.
We're
and
farm
my daughter
workers.
to reach for me. Oh, goodness.
So for me, it was, I got the tourniquet on, and my knee was busted up. There was blood everywhere. And I tried to make sure that wasn't too bad, and I tried to play dead because the last thing I wanted was to get capped, sitting there waving at everybody. And they called me in KIA, man. And that's like in my head, that was kind of messy, They called me in KIA because I just got blown up on foot and I didn't move for like 10 seconds, And so for me, that was what bothers me about that is that I went over the radio and all my guys like not to pat myself on the back, but I had a lot of friends, a lot of guys in there that, we were all very, very close. And I was worried, I thought about when I heard them say that, I worried about Long, which, was my military best friend.
What's his name?
Long.
Okay.
Nick Long. And then, my buddy Green and those were my roommates, Green and Long were my two closest guys. Yeah. I've been in both of their weddings too.
That's good, man. What do they do?
Hood rat things.
Hood rat things. They drive their grandma's
with their
car.
friends. They drive their grandma's van around.
Yes. Yes.
So Nick Long is, I think, if he's still in, he was working the range out at like Quantico or something like that. Green is out, and he lives in Missouri doing like construction work, stuff like that. Just had shoulder surgery.
How's he good? How's he doing?
He's doing good. I wish he had a lot of money because he's such a good guy and he works his butt off. If I could make that guy rich, if there was somebody on this earth I could make rich, it'd be him. He deserves it. He's got a heart of gold and blue eyes that just make my heart.
He's a fine man now.
He's a fine looking man.
Yeah.
Fine looking man, let me tell you.
Yes.
But just people that you meet and you've shared something like that with. There's just it's so far beyond love. Like, it's not even a word for it. It's. But in the military, when like love is like, don't get shot in the face. That's my way of saying, hey buddy, be careful out there. Take care of yourself. Keep your eyes on a swivel. I love you. You take care of you. But what we say is, don't get shot in the face, fag. But it comes from so much love, and it's like, it's really, to be honest with you, man, it's like, it's something that you just can't express. And so I think that's one reason why we get out of the military and we come home, and it's hard to get used to normal people again because they haven't had those experiences. And I never felt like I was better than anybody else, but I felt like I knew more. And it's hard to step away. I started talking to you a little bit about that before, about you get angry at people because they ask these dumb questions like, did you kill anybody? Or
I want to hear
something.
your answer, man. We got to share that with the people, man. That was actually priceless, dude. But it is it funny and immediately abrasive as I thought it was for you to actually say that to people. It made so much sense, and it changed my whole direction on what I tell people, what I will tell people if they ever ask me that again. Yeah. What did you say?
So I'm snarky. So when somebody asks me a question like that, and they don't realize how personal something like that is, and whether it's true or not. I mean, a lot of people, to be honest with you, go over there and they don't know what exactly. A lot of times you're just putting rounds down range. And so, but when somebody asks you a dumb question like that, you're like, whether I did or didn't, I was like, and what makes you? I'm a medic. What makes you think I'm capping people over there anyway? Just it's none of your business. But initially, I'm snarky, and I'm like, and my initial response when somebody asks, it's not a kid, of course, but if somebody, an adult asks, "You killing them ragheads over there?" is like, "Have you ever been molested?" Like, and that's initially what I want to say, because if you are asking me something that personal, that opens up me being able to ask you something just as personal, But that's the wrong way of looking at it. And it took me time to realize that ignorance that people have, that bubble they live in, is a good thing. That's what we fight for, is for people to have that, to not know what life and death is until they get a little bit older, to be able to be an idiot 18-year-old kid who doesn't know not to ask dumb questions to people and not get popped in the face over it, because to be honest with you, you don't want people to know that stuff, I mean, imagine what it's done to me and you and these 22 guys a day that are killing themselves, That bubble is a hard bubble to handle being popped. You don't want people having to deal with that. I don't want people walking around knowing that our bodies are basically paper holding in our organs, It takes nothing to kill somebody. And that's not something that people need to be worrying about. It's a good thing that they don't know any better. And I try to remember that. And I try to remember that if they knew that question could hurt somebody, they wouldn't ask it. A lot of people's hearts are in the right place. They're just dumb and they're ignorant.
Yeah, they think that you want to brag a little bit about it.
Yeah, and anybody who ever walks around saying, "Man, I killed me 42," they're lying. That's total. I've never had. The only time that conversation happens is immediately after the firefight. Like, I got 3 guys over there, and it's not even an excitement. Like, it's more like information.
You're assessing the situation.
Yeah.
That just happened.
That's the only time that kind of stuff comes up, and I'm sure if it comes up again after that with people, it's normally with alcohol involved, and
that's a freaking freak of nature in itself. Talking about that with drunk people.
Yeah.
I was just thinking of something like, people ask me a lot when they ask me about God or my faith or my beliefs and stuff, and they'll ask me if I'm Jewish.
Yeah.
And my response has always been difficult to give them because it's a personal thing. You can lump Judaism in so many different ways.
Yeah.
And it's like I've now inverted it as an opportunity to express how I truly feel about the issue, which is I am a man of many faiths.
Yeah.
Which is essentially, you know, I don't know what's happening, but it's happening right now.
Yeah.
Sure, culturally I was raised Jewish, but I don't specifically have any belief set that could lump me into a category. And when I think of, you know, how many people have you killed, it's almost like that question could be coming from a place of wanting to understand, because the person that asks it can't imagine it.
No.
Like, they just can't even imagine it. Like, and I think it's not so much, at least the way I perceive it, as it's more of it could be somebody wanting to know what that could really feel like, you know?
Without having any beforehand knowledge that me telling them is not going to give them any sort of indication anyway, what it feels like to save a life, you know, or or anything like that. I mean, that's not something, I mean, you know, somebody who's had cancer or something like that, you know, we could sit here and read books about it and like confer with one another and meet once a month. But until one of us had to go through it, we have no idea what we're talking about, you know? And it's the same thing with any aspect of military life. You know, everything that you go through over there, good and bad, gets kind of lumped together. And you got to remember that it is together. So for every bad thing that happened over there, you got to remember singing Tenacious D. And
that's what I love to point this out, man. Like putting those posts up, you know, kind of changing the game. This whole reason of this whole real hero podcast type thing. I think I'll just stick with that name. I don't know if anybody owns it. If they do, we'll change it for the most part.
Yeah.
But really, it's kind of just because obviously
Hogan's Heroes.
Yeah, Hogan's Heroes is good. You actually I've got my limbs, right?
Yeah.
I'm a fat dude, so to speak, of 265 pounds, but I have the full capability.
You're a fine-looking man, though.
I appreciate that.
Fine-looking man.
That. So with that being said, I have the full capabilities of making that happen, but I don't, right?
Yeah.
It's inconvenient for me right now in my life, and that's ignorantly saying that, and I'm actually recognizing that, like talking to you, that's inconvenient for me. What do you mean? Well, I put my mind in all these other different places, and sometimes I would need you to tell me, you specifically, after I've learned about you and everything. I need to hear your story of how you're overcoming these things.
Yeah.
Not necessarily your beliefs in each different thing, but how you're overcoming stuff. How you don't have a leg right now. How we watched you walk down the hill a little bit right there. You actually did it thanks to that technology, but without that technology, you'd never do that.
Yep.
How are you overcoming that? I'll never run a mile again. I'll never climb up that, you know, you're a freaking nature. Look how strong this dude is. Look how big he is. You work out every single day at lunch?
4 or 5 days a week, yeah.
That's freaking insane. I do it once a never.
once a never.
Yeah, that's
For how
an
long?
actual day, dude.
About 3 hours.
It's
once
an extreme amount. Sometimes I go all day.
Doing nothing?
Yes. I go all day. It's amazing. But for the most part, man, there's guys out there that do have their limbs and everything, but they actually were next to a guy that died, and you'll actually find out more about those later on down the podcast. But those guys are dealing with stuff inside their head of just not having self-worth based off of them coming out of the military, them having to go through a specific experience, not having that support chain that we were kind of talking about outside. That's a super big deal. So the whole point of creating this thing would be to kind of gear that towards that and take that negative vibe off the veterans that are killing themselves, because that's a worst thing, and I hate it, dude. And it always needs to be addressed. We never want to forget the people that died. That's why I feel like interjecting them in these stories, you know, and having everybody, but watching those posts and watching everybody get together on them and sharing each other's numbers and sharing each other's stories and everything. And these, like I said, these aren't bash fists or stories that they don't come with the exaggeration. They're actually checked by other guys. Like, hey, that's not what happened.
Yeah.
That's not what happened. And then,
that's stolen valor stuff, man.
Well, you'll never find that with what we're doing. Yeah. Because this is raw and in your face, and I really appreciate you participating in it. So from like right here, where I want to kind of go with it is, I want to find out, if you don't mind your wife coming in here, I want to kind of find out how you guys are living. Like, what's your daily routine? Yeah. Because you obviously have to have one when you can't just get up and go. Yeah.
One thing that I had to do is that you get out of the military. And, you know, and here I am on this bridge, you know, and we ended up, you know, basically we ended up, you know, doing a ride out after that. And then that just started my whole process. 3-month-old daughter, you know, that I'd never even met before. And so, man, you want to talk about transition. And so for me, you go from being a part of this huge thing that is affecting the world, you know, the military, and you're a part of something that you understand. And so the consequences of that are easy to justify in your mind. Like, my injury It feels to me like it was a purpose. And there's going to be people arguing, saying we're over there for no reason, blah, blah, blah. They didn't see what I saw over there. They didn't see what those people were going through over there.
Exactly.
And I'm not saying we made it better or worse. I'm saying that we went over there. My personal intentions were good.
Exactly.
And every person that I went over there, I helped. I mean, I worked on Iraqis. I worked on everybody. Like,
that's an amazing thing, huh?
And for me, you go from that to... You come home and all these guys, like, for me, I was busy, you know, because I'd gotten injured and I spent like a year and a half in the hospital,
Surgeries.
Bethesda, and like 30-something surgeries and everything. And so I was busy, and my poor wife was the one having to deal with all this stuff for the most part. And a lot of guys get out and they've got this big hole in them from that, and they try to fill it with adrenaline or alcohol or whatever. Miss Angel, you want to come in here for a minute?
Let me ask you this. I was just thinking, like, this is how I kind of perceive it. You know, we wonder why we're there. We wonder what's going on. And you wonder how you can
slide out, man.
how someone can say, you know, like, ask you to kill a person. What's that like, or what it's experienced? And I've got a friend who's a Marine that lives with me, and he told me one of the things that he saw and he showed me was this YouTube video of the Taliban. They were shooting rockets.
Yeah.
And they were just all out there. They were all setting their stuff up and they were shooting it up. And then the guy that was firing the rocket, it blew up and misfired and he just blew up. And all of a sudden the camera pans to the people with him and they're just going, they're sad, they're crying, they lost their brother.
Yeah.
They lost their friend. You know, and it's like, what... I think the human trait that we all have is like we develop things to believe in, and we're only products of our environment.
Yeah.
So when you mentioned that you're out there helping Iraqis and you're helping people, you're doing what you can because you just want to make things better.
Yeah.
While you're there. That was your experience over there.
Yeah.
And I think people get misconstrued and think that it's some sort of a game or something like it's. And I think that's kind of way like when you're over there. I just wanted to ask you is like how you kind of rationalize that.
You know, it's funny. It's actually in a lot of ways.
Before you answer that, man, I want to jump in and say that everybody's going to answer that different, and your opinion is extremely valued on that.
Well, for me personally, when you have a situation like that, it's funny. You know, you deploy with this great plan in mind. You've got, you win hearts and minds or whatever. But when you get over there, it's a whole different ball game because you end up doing everything based off of your people at that point. Because you deploy and you'll do anything they ask you to do because you know it's necessary. You have to do those counter-mortar patrols in order to keep from having, shells dropped on you while you're sleeping. So, in order to do that, though, it's really valuing your own life over people that are trying to end it. It's not a hard decision to take care of people who need it for me, and for these war fighters that are laying rounds downrange. It's not, I don't think anybody regretted doing what they had to do because a lot of that was not so much we're doing this for America, but it's like we're in this situation. Oh yeah, he's gonna take her outside.
That's totally cool, man. I actually love the realism here.
Yeah,
actually.
I mean, the thing is like politics aside,
Yeah.
You're doing what you have to do with the people that you're with because you have to.
Yeah.
Like, you're there, and you only know what you're shown. You only know who you know, and these are the guys that you love. You love yourself. You want to come home. It's always so interesting to me that the other side of that is happening over the line. The thin red line, so to say. It's like the other people are experiencing that same thing.
Yeah. On the other side of it, that's exactly it. Nobody is in that war thinking that they're on the wrong side, Right. I mean, even idiots like Hitler thought that he was doing the right thing. Mm-hmm. I don't know how he thought that, but, you have these people that are singularly effective at war. I mean, you've got the Napoleons of the world, the Genghis Khans of the world, the guys who know what they're doing, and these people affect the world for better or for worse. And so, it really, I'm not one of those type of people that's like, drop nuclear bombs over there and let God sort them out, because I met the people over there, and a lot of them we met. For every one person that seemed like they were scared and angry that we were there, I mean, there were 20 that were thanking us. I mean, people coming up, running up to us to show us their scars from like the experimentation. There was a little redheaded girl over there that probably, honestly, had she not been as malformed as she was, would probably have been one of the most 100 beautiful women on the planet. I've never seen anything like this. She had that beautiful like Arab skin, and her hair was reddish. I've never seen anything like it. And her eyes were like this hazel color, and they were big and almond. And she was completely mentally retarded, unable to function with her body properly. And it just and it was her parents were experimented on, chemical Ali and stuff like that. I mean, they'd done something with his organs. He had surgical scars all over his stomach. And this is stuff that people don't see, you know? And this little girl, like, I just remember thinking, like, I hope that but her brother's sitting there swatting flies off her face. And this is honestly, this little 10-year-old girl would have honestly grown up to been one of the most beautiful women that I would have ever seen in my life. There's no way around it. Her facial structure, she was gorgeous. And it just, you know, people didn't see that kind of stuff. All they saw was we were over there dealing with a bunch of stuff that maybe we shouldn't have. And that doesn't matter. We were over there.
Dude, I feel that 100%.
I mean, if I hit you in the face, do you want to sit there and talk about why I did it? Or do you want to get out of the situation, you know, first? Let's figure out what's going on. Let's finish the fight. Let's calm you down before we start trying to analyze this. And people are just picking it apart in the middle of it. And all that does is slow it down.
Well, I guess my next question, man, is going to be... I don't even want to be in the camera for this.
No,
one.
no,
I'm just
no,
gonna
for the
look-
audio.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we're filming the podcast at the same time.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a kind of a separate thing, but we'll interject it too.
All right.
Like your daily routine. Let's introduce your wife too, obviously.
This is the beautiful Miss Angela Worley,
Miss Angela.
formerly known as Fernando before I rudely stole her from her family. Long time ago. I met her through Jesse Thomas. We went to school with.
Yeah, of course.
And me, him, and Matt Allison were just best friends forever. And well, are you making BFFs? So him and I both worked at Walmart together, and we both I drove a Pontiac Grand Prix, and he had a Grand Am. It's like '89, baby. It was a good year. So his was broken down. I don't know why. Pontiacs are perfect, but his broke down, and he needed a ride to his girlfriend's house. So I take him to his girlfriend's house, and his girlfriend steps out on the porch, and I was like, hey, no offense to you, man, but how did that happen, you know? And he's like, we've just been dating since we were 15. We met at a dance. I was like, does she have a sister? And he said she has an identical twin sister. I was like, is she... Yeah.
Jackpot.
So I was like, is she single? And he said yes, and she wants to stay that way. He wasn't joking. He wasn't joking at all. She was a lot of hard work. Barely worth it, but worth it.
Huh.
No, honestly though, she just didn't care. Like, and so...
Really?
And so I'm like, give her my number, and I didn't know what I was doing. I never chased girls in my life, you know. I didn't even know what I was doing. I was always so gorgeous. I was fighting them off with sticks. So for me, I didn't know what I was doing. And so what happened was he ended up giving her my number on their way to or from her uncle's funeral.
He asked me if he could give you my number. And it was on my birthday, and I had to go to my great uncle's funeral that I didn't even know. I was like, whatever, I don't even care.
Yeah.
I think I said whatever, and Jesse's a smart aleck, so he was like, she didn't say no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And optimism at its finest.
Yeah. So I ended up going over. Her mom would cook these huge Sunday dinners just to get everybody over there. And so I went over there, and I honestly, you think I'm joking, I really didn't know what I was doing. So I show up, and this dinner, and it's like a date that she's not on. She's just there for. And I get a plate, and I walk in the living room, and there's no seat except for the one right beside her. But I didn't want to presume anything. Like, yeah, I'm gonna sit down beside my girl, So I sat on the floor in the middle of the living room. And they ragged me for it, of course, so I got up and got, I ended up going to get her a glass of milk or something like that because I'm a gentleman, I'll get a girl a glass of
And
milk.
he just kept coming over.
And then I just kept coming over.
That's good.
She acted like she didn't like me for about 3 weeks, but she let me read her journal later. She liked me that first night. She just was playing hard to get.
That's good stuff, man. So you guys obviously been together a while. Your house, things incredible. We heard about how you kind of got it and came about it. Father of 3.
Yeah.
Got 2 beautiful kids. We obviously just heard one of them sing. It was awesome. That was, dude. That I think everybody in the room kind of just like, pretty overwhelming.
I wet my pants. Yeah.
A little bit. I saw it actually. No, we actually.
I just zoomed in on you the whole time.
We were actually commending you kind of because the way you are a father and everything. Being a father, obviously, you got something put on you right there, anyways.
Yeah.
Right. In a typical case, this is like a perfect scenario for somebody who's been injured in Iraq.
Yeah.
The support chain and everything. But for those guys out there that do not have that incredible wife, and they're not fathers, and they're kind of just out there searching. Yeah. I feel like it's going to be beneficial from here. What I'm about to ask you, I guess, how do you guys maneuvering through it? Can you, I guess, just describe to me, not in a sense of teaching somebody something, but just how it really is for you specifically to be the wife of somebody who's been injured in Iraq, who's obviously going through physical pain and mental pain, but then to just be there for them. And it's not nothing intellectual. This comes from really love, and I feel like I want to hear what you have to say about that.
Oh, it is definitely love.
Yeah.
People look at us, we were just talking about this the other day, and they think that we have this perfect marriage, a perfect relationship, and it's not always been perfect, and it's not always perfect.
No.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Out of all the families that were in the Fisher House, we were in the Fisher House with...
What is the Fisher House?
The Fisher House is a house that initially was set up to house the families of cancer patients when they were going through treatment. Transitioned through, OIF, OEF, into also assisting family members of wounded veterans and stuff like that when they get hurt. So if you have a family, they will try to set a room aside in this huge house with like 11 rooms and a beautiful
Ours had
kitchen.
13 rooms.
Yeah.
A dining room, 2 living rooms.
Yeah, so it's just a huge house.
So it's like a big house, and you have your own bedroom and bathroom, but you share.
It's the best thing ever because
That's
you're
awesome,
there
man.
with a bunch of
was
guys
really awesome.
who are all going through the same thing you're going through, and so you actually, it's like a family.
Yeah,
And so we had,
kids.
a buddy of mine, David Glenn. He's a Green Beret. Was there and it's funny because he was this cocky little punk who just got both his legs blown off.
Who thought the same thing about him?
Yeah, and he thought the same thing about me. And it's funny because back then we didn't really talk much, but now I love him, man. He's such a good guy because we both call him out David Glenn. He lost both his legs and stayed on jump status. That guy is a freaking beast. He is a beast. His face got jacked up, his jump got jacked up, his legs got jacked up, missing like a finger or something like that.
He's missing a lot of fingers.
Yeah, this guy is a war fighter, dude. This is one of those. This is the type of guy that like loses both his legs and then walks on his stumps to clear out another foxhole. Like this guy is just.
I'll bite your legs off.
Yeah, exactly. It's a flesh wound. So it's funny because out of all those families that were there, all those marriages that were there, it's like us, him and his wife Robin, and then Tammy Duckworth, who's a politician up in Illinois now, she's a senator.
For Illinois.
And her husband are still together. And then Jason
and
Heather Pepper. And I think that's the only marriages that are still together out of like 20.
All right, so this leads to my next question, right? And I know we didn't kind of fully answer the other one, and that we're kind of feeding off of one another. How you guys doing it, man? Because I personally, myself, when my wife sees this, I'm not putting anything on blast. We have a great marriage, right? My wife is.
But no marriage is perfect.
No marriage.
Everybody has their ups and downs.
I'll yell
Yeah.
sometimes,
We're smart, Alex. We don't yell. There's no yelling.
Yeah, so
never.
kind of share that with the people who may be going with the other route, they're taking the other route, and it's really not just because they're that way. I feel like some people just truly are just on that road, and it's kind of hard to turn around sometimes.
Yeah.
Until you see somebody else going the other direction. You're like, hey. Yeah.
Every now and then I get a little bit crazy.
Don't do it yet.
So yeah, man. What do you guys do a little different, or you just kind of don't treat it different? What do you guys do?
We've had bad times. We've been this close to divorce.
Yeah.
We've
said the D word before, but
it's not been, but I think we never had breakdowns at the same time.
Yeah.
So like
The other one held the other one up.
Like, if I was thinking I can't do this anymore, I'm leaving, he was like, I'm not ready to give up. Or if he was like, I can't do this anymore, I'm leaving, I'm like, no, I'm not giving up. So I think that helped. And then at our worst time,
Yeah.
he told me that I was emotionally dead and that if I didn't go to therapy with him, then he was leaving. And I told him it was his fault that I was emotionally dead. So
coming off of that,
we did that, and that really changed everything. But
The Fisher House.
well, no, this was like
Izzy was 2. That was 6 years ago.
Yeah.
So Abby was 4. It was 4 years after he got blown up. Because I kind of just, my way of dealing with it was...
You guys were together, actually? Of course, obviously the kid.
the whole time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
I was 5 months pregnant when he deployed, and she was 3 months old when he came home. So my way of dealing with it was just robot mode, as he calls it. But I never snapped out of it. I just stayed like that. And his 11-hour video game days were not 11 hours. There was times when he would, at the Fisher House, fall asleep in a chair playing video games, wake up, and keep playing. So it was like being married to somebody who wasn't there. So then I just kind of went to be like somebody who wasn't there too. So we were like just going through the motions, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So then we got church. That helps.
Yeah.
Lots of Jesus and not having our breakdowns at the same time.
But to be honest with you, coming off the closest we ever came it's been better than our whole marriage is better than it's been ever. You could pick a week of all our marriage that was the best ever before that, and you wouldn't touch what it's been like for the past
because we
4
both
years.
acknowledged our weaknesses and what we had done wrong. And once you say, I am part of the problem, it's not all his fault. And he says that he is part of the problem. It's not all my fault. Because marriage is not 50-50. Marriage is 100-100.
It is absolutely.
Say that one more time.
Marriage is not 50-50. Marriage is 100-100. You have to give 100%. Even if your partner is giving 10%, you have to give 100%. And when you realize that it's 100% you and 100% them, and you always give your 100%.
That's lessons that anybody that's married can take right there. I like that. You guys are...
She never, I mean, I to be honest with you, it's in some ways, had I been angry and yelled at her and stuff like that, it might have been easier because there's passion there. But the hardest thing to get over with is not caring anymore. And then we had hit that point where it was like, I really didn't care. And so it wasn't, there was no anger. There was no, like, I mean, you know, maybe at times, but really I didn't walk around upset and frustrated. And she...
Me either.
She was unwilling to be vulnerable enough to feel what love was anymore. And I had given up on that as well. And I wasn't at that point yet ready to realize that I'm the one that shoved her in that direction, you know? And so getting on the other side of that, man, was incredible. And so coming out on the other side of that, we started trying to find things that we could do together that would help us have more in common and stuff like that. So
what are some of those things that you guys do?
Working out. Like, we both decided we were going to get in shape. She went from being like skinny fat to being, you know, in great shape. Yeah, skinny muscles.
110 to 105.
No, she went from
fat is a real thing. I weighed like 100 pounds with 20-something% body fat.
I was just messing with you.
And then I weighed like I got to 115 with like 17% body fat.
Yeah.
So
she hurts when she punches now.
It's not fat.
It's different. She does beat me a little bit, but I don't hit her back. I pop her on the butt.
That's a good way to
You
do it.
have to do that, though.
It's like hitting your kid with a phone book back in the day, you know? People still do that.
Or the phone.
Yeah, or that's how we got it, the phone.
Yeah.
So, man, everything is not good. That's right. I'm not going to end it or start to end it with everything is so great and I'm so glad for you, because everything is not good. But what I am going to end it with right now, as far as this goes, because I kind of want to go around and do a couple more things here, is that you guys have an incredible story, which is the foundation and the mortar and the bricks of how you guys are actually going to end in this world. Yeah. It's not with the bomb later on down the road, you specifically. Some people it was. But you guys that have had opportunities in this life since then, I feel like, and you guys are embracing them in ways that why I wanted specifically to interview you first. Yeah. Because my next few interviews, they're gonna be super intense with some guys that aren't gonna answer the same way you are, and I might not even ask them the same questions. It's kind of gonna go along the lines with don't disrespect them and ask them if they've killed anybody or anything like that. You guys are something to emulate, in my opinion. You're super strong. I don't even have to know your life's history to see where you are now. Yeah, it's kind of.
She is an impressive person in general. Like she's got more love. I mean, I can't imagine. To be honest with you, had the situation been reversed, I couldn't have done what she did. She was the stronger one to start with. I think that I'm caught up with her now, and that I can do what she did. But she honestly, when she got married, she was getting married for life. Had I gotten into a car accident and been wearing a diaper the next day, we would still be here and she would be taking care of me. And that's not something that I'm 100% sure at that time I could have said. I don't know that. I feel like that her love was deeper and stronger and more committed. And it took me seeing more of her in her element. You don't know what somebody's like until you see them stressed. And seeing her on the outside edge of what a person can take and seeing, her grace. I mean, you talk about falling in love with somebody all over again. I mean, I am continuously impressed by her in every way. And
that's amazing, man. That's really amazing, actually. Some people search for that and they never find it. Ever. People go through 5 marriages. I'm actually on my 2nd marriage. My wife is my savior. She was there whenever I got my Army career kind of fell off. Yeah. And she, without her, I feel the same way. So I kind of feel like you and her are kind of the same. But I don't feel like me and you are the same. I feel like you're a way better man than me just by your general thought process. I'm not taking anything away from myself, right?
Oh, I'm agreeing with you.
But So what I'm saying is that you are. I've already got something from this right here today automatically just from that alone, because I feel like veterans lose their support chain, and then after they lose their support chain, that is when the downward spiral goes. Yeah, absolutely insane. Some people take pills for PTSD and they legit have PTSD. I don't feel like they should take. That's a totally different thing. Yeah. For me, some people feel like they have to, and I never shy away from it. I feel like information is more valuable than medicine, and it is ultimately medicine. Like when I heard something the first time that I really loved, or I saw, I tell you what really inspired me to ever even make a video the first time ever was one of those crazy, like, it wasn't an awesome one for me to be on blast. It was actually somewhere they like paid a homeless veteran like $1,000 or something, like on a lottery ticket. They like totally faked it and lied about the lottery ticket, made this whole fake situation. Yeah. But to create this thing that dude really needed, and kind of since then, I think they followed up, and that guy's kind of doing well now. Yeah. And that's not false. That's kind of wow for me.
I think that he ended up with a house. Like people raised money for him.
Exactly.
For real.
So you see what I'm saying about this positivity thing that can. I couldn't imagine anything coming from it negative, because I already know that guys are doing horrible. Yeah. I already know that guys are killing themselves. I already know that there's people getting divorced 3 and 4 times, and they're still kicking. That's why I keep posting them. You keep seeing them on my feed. Yeah. And why I want to specifically interview you is because you guys are incredible to me, man. Like, you guys are so awesome. You know what I mean?
I think I think that people forget that the next day the sun's going to come up, and it's easy to get caught up in this day and what's going on right now, and you forget that 5 years ago, man, my life sucked in a lot of ways, and being able to learn how to come up with that, and you realize how much of that, and that's what gets people, is when you realize how much of that is your fault. Yeah. She wasn't the one that pushed me into feeling like crap about myself and stuff like that. That was a lot of internal stuff, and so being able to come out on the other side of that and go, you know what? I'm not alone. Every single thing that I've gone through, somebody else has gone through and worse, and what right do I have to say that my issues are untouchable, that no one can understand them? And so that right there tells me that I need to talk to some of my buddies sometimes, I need to, when I'm having trouble sleeping or something like that, I need to get on the phone and shoot the breeze with some guys and remind people that you love them, because it reminds you yourself that you're loved. because I mean, we didn't really hang out in school, but I love you, man.
Oh, I love you too, buddy. Hey.
Don't get shot in the face.
Yeah, don't get shot in the face. You know what I'm talking about? No homo, B.
Low homo. I mean, no homo.
Hey. We messed it up.
Mild to moderate homo.
Yeah. Medium size? I'm not medium size. No. I freaking that's that cohesion, man, that people are actually searching for. They may be way away from their next closest friend. Like me and you we literally live 40 minutes apart.
Yeah.
30 minutes apart, and so we can reach out to each other.
Yeah.
So some people may not be able to do that. So I want to build this thing beyond that, where we do take vacation. Now, there's already stuff like this, and people doing a great cause, but it's so far out of reach for people that I know that aren't.
Yeah.
So everybody that I know, I want to bring them in close, not to me, but just together, and to kind of build off of what we're doing right here.
You could even do something like like make our own like military unit.
Yeah, like,
but not to get together, but just like Unit 22 or something like that, and and it's almost like.
Instead of Real Hero.
You can do Real Hero. If you get sued for that, you can turn it into REEL Hero, and we can just do this fishing.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yes.
Don't drop the bass. I'm gonna eat that later. I meant bass. Sorry.
So this is good, man. I want to end it on that note for sure. I really thank you guys for letting us come into your house.
Please leave.
Your kids. Yeah, we're out.
Please.
Grab
Goodbye.
Before it starts getting crazy. No, I'm just playing.
Thanks for coming out, man. And seriously, man, if I just this one thing I want to say to people, that if you need to get a hold of somebody, if you need to talk to somebody, I've been as low as you can go and I've been as high as you can go. And why I'm still here is as much a blessing and as much having a good support system and as much out of my control as it was in my control. There's a lot of things you can't control, but you can control your reaction to it. If you need to talk to somebody, please. There's people that love you, man. There's people that love you a lot. There's people, those guys that would have died for you over there, they'll still do it. You think they won't. Just because we're older, we're getting gray hairs falling out, we're getting fat, doesn't mean that heart isn't still there. I mean, my guys, they ever need me, I'll fly across the country. It's not an issue for me. $500 is nothing, when it comes to somebody really needing you. Be a man of your word. If you say that you're there for each other like you did when you were over there, mean it.
Oh, I've lost that spirit right there, man. I've lost it, Yeah. I got to find it again. Being a man of my word, I think I'm going to use this opportunity right here that we're doing right now to continue to do that. I've told people when I got out, that I'd be there at that time. If I owed him $1, I brought the dollar kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then I got away from that because I was consumed in just bills.
Yeah.
Hey, can I borrow this? I'll pay you back. And then I wouldn't pay it back for 6 months.
Yeah.
And then I'll be over there to do that, to pick you up. And we'll definitely make that happen.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't happen. Then you lose that.
They're standing outside in the rain. They're mascara.
No friends. You know what I mean? And
I know
literally to try to come back to that, because at that, there was my entire life I used to do what I said I was going to do.
Yeah.
And getting away from that.
It's stressful when you're not, because you're not acting like who you are inside.
Yeah.
I try to be a man of my word. Now I am so far from perfect. It's not even funny. I mean, I'm closer than you, but I appreciate you guys coming out, man.
No, we love it, man. We really appreciate the opportunity. This is our very first one, so it was I really needed to kind of do it like a little bit bigger than I would have anticipated. I tried to think of how we were going to do it. I got him on the phone. It was perfect timing.
Yeah.
Dude, can you come out?
I haven't casually flexed yet, so.
Dude, yeah, he's like, actually, hey, can you get some water?
I need some water.
That's awesome, man. So your fitness too is amazing. We know that.
Thank you, David Clont at Express Fitness in Villa Rica, Georgia. Now here's Tom with the weather.
That's great, man. So let's get like a couple more shots of this stuff. I want you to see his freezer, dude. This freezer is amazing.
So we got this through Blue Ribbon Foods. They give you a freezer and they fill it slap up with food, and it's all like Georgia processed stuff.
They bring you the whole thing with
They bring you the whole thing. No, they put the food in it. They bring the food separate, but it's all like, look, meat processors of Georgia, some Norcross, and all this stuff. And look at the size of these freaking salmon fillets and stuff.
Dude,
I mean, these fish fillets.
What's the name of it? What's the name of it again?
Blue Ribbon Foods.
Blue Ribbon Foods.
Yeah.
Real quick, just kind of you don't have to go back through the stories. I guess just tell me the rundown on the people that you want to shout out to and just kind of like what they do real quick.
Yeah, and this is really important. Like, there are organizations that step up and they do way more than you could even imagine.
Selfless service.
Selfless service, yeah. They give sacrificially. And when I first got hurt, Injured Marine Semper Fi Fund were the ones that were there. And they were the ones that stepped up when my 3-month-old daughter was there, when my wife had to move from Georgia all the way up to, D.C. And all of a sudden, we'd never had a real winter. I mean, what, 94? Mm-hmm. We had a real winter. Like, that's I mean,
Yeah.
They have more in 1 year than we have in a decade, And so they were the ones that were there to help when I didn't yet know how to ask for it, I didn't realize I needed the help until people like that showed up. Injured Marine Semper Fi Fund.
How do people donate to that?
You can go to the Injured Marine Semper Fi Fund website. I'm not 100% sure. They also have an Army one now called America's...
Maybe we'll do a little research and make sure we get that out there. The Injured Marine Semper Fi Fund...
America's Fund, I think it's called.
America's Fund. They have a website people can go to?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so Homes for Our Troops hooked us up with a house on Ridge Road. We outgrew it pretty quickly, but that was such a boost for us, and it set us up for so much success. My life is fantastic, and part of that is because they set us up. When a lot of things we were worrying about so much, having a house was not one of those things. They totally set the house up for me. And then the America's Vet Dogs. Oh my gosh, I love those people. I've been volunteering for them since 2008. They're a sister organization to the Guide Dog Foundation. And what they do, America's Vet Dogs, is they train service dogs for veterans. And they train them specifically for that veteran at no cost to the veteran. Everyone's always like, how much does that cost? It costs nothing. I've had Benjamin since 2008, and when he first showed up, I was having to use him to get in and out of the floor and stuff. He brought me my shoe, he brought me my leg. I drop everything out of he was handing me my wallet, stabilizing me when I walk. I mean, all the retrieval, everything that he was doing for me was like taking weight off my wife's back, And
can you donate to those people? Or
yeah, you can go to americasvetdogs.org or vetdogs.org, and it's and you can easily donate there. That organization is. I started actually 6 months ago. I started working for them. They've been asking me to work for them for 2 years. I started working for them, and so now I try to help them raise money. And I'm also the go-to guy when veteran organizations want to do things with us or donate to us or something like that. I'm the Veterans Relations Liaison.
Run away. She'll go to the gym after working today. Maybe if she was thinner, then he would have stayed. And she says, who